All right, so I want to welcome and introduce Maria O'Neill. She's the Vice President and Chief Information Technology Officer for Oceaneering International Incorporated. And I had mentioned to Maria that there's a lot going on in cyber around maritime. So I think this is a timely presentation. I know Maria because we worked together at Exxon for several years, and then she moved on to British Petroleum and then on to other activities. She's the CIO and a senior technology executive with over 2 decades of IT leadership and consulting experience, spanning from multiple multinational oil and gas maritime companies and startup companies. And Maria is an avid change advocate, recognized for understanding and liaisoning with business leaders to develop and implement technology solutions that deliver impactful business solutions. So I'm going to turn it over to Maria, and I'm going to stop sharing and let her share.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My name's Maria O'Neill, as Steve mentioned, and I used to work for Steve at Exxon years ago. And this was during the .com days, and we put up the first internet and intranet servers, and we got a lot of heat because they didn't work right all the time, but but it was probably the most fun time in my career, was being part of his team and doing something totally new back in, I guess, the mid-90s. So it's an honor to be here and speak to you guys about OT security. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides so I can begin my presentation. And as Steve mentioned, I've got about half an hour of content, but I'm open to answer any questions you might have. Let me just share my screen. And then I'm going to do the slideshow. See if I can remember how Mike told me to do it. Let's see. I'm glad you guys are patient with this stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Can you guys see the slides, the PowerPoint, or did we lose it?
No, we're just seeing your screen with the other slides attached. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to have to go back to see I should have practiced it a couple of times, huh?
That's okay.
We can see your screen, and
yeah. She wants to be it in presentation mode.
Just go up to from beginning, the from beginning icon, and hit that from beginning.
All right, I'm trying to find where you're saying.
Up left. The very left icon on their top, from beginning.
I don't see from beginning on my screen.
Okay.
Try F5.
Your F5.
Let's see.
F5. Okay.
Did that work?
No, we can see it. Maybe you should just keep on going.
All right. Let's see. All right, well, I'm gonna move on then, if you can see it. So first I want to start by introducing you to Oceaneering. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As Steve mentioned, I've been in a CIO role for about 20 years now, and I've been with Oceaneering about 3. But one thing that I've learned over the course of my career in being a CIO is that cybersecurity is probably one of the most important responsibilities that I have as a CIO. And to be honest with you, maybe 10 years ago, I didn't know very much about cybersecurity. And I was working for a company and we had a breach. And talk about having a sudden need to be very educated on the topic. It became of critical importance to me, and it has been ever since then. But I want to tell you a little bit about Oceaneering. Oceaneering is a global provider of subsea engineering and applied technologies. Basically, we provide engineering services to the offshore business, the oil and gas drilling business in the offshore. And, we do that with subsea robotics that we have manufactured and developed ourselves. But we support the commercial business as well as the government, the US government. And we do a lot of work for the space industry as well. So the remote operated vehicles is one of the things that we do, but we also do other things such as diving services, non-destructive testing and inspections. We do a lot of surveying of the ocean floor, pipeline inspections. You mentioned it. We do it with these remote operated vehicles. We call them ROVs. In addition to that, we're a manufacturing company. We have segments of our business that specialize in manufacturing what we call subsea umbilicals. These are these gigantic hoses that are used to connect the top of the well to the ocean floor, to the bottom of the well. And then those hoses, they are used to transport things like electricity, fiber, chemical, you name it. And they're hoses that are all connected and made into one gigantic hose. Well, we manufacture those, and we have 3 facilities across the world that specialize in building these umbilicals, is what they're called. In addition to that, we have other manufacturing facilities that manufacture valves and clamps used in the offshore, as well as gauges. And then we have a segment of our business that's totally different, but it's similar in the sense that it's robotics, and we like to call ourselves a robotics company. We manufacture these autonomous forklifts that move in manufacturing facilities. They go from point A to point B all day long, transporting cargo or heavy equipment, and those operate autonomously. As well as we have autonomous people movers that we've gotten into as well. They're like these little mini buses that run on a magnetic strip, and these are being sold into universities and airports. That's the market that they're addressing. So as you can imagine, there is a lot of technology involved in all parts of our business, and it's operational technology, information technology, and we have to make sure that it's all secure. And when I started 3 years ago, we realized we had a ways to go to make sure that technology, the operational technology, was secure. So we've been on a journey to protect the operational technology. As a company, we view safety as paramount to us, as well as, we stress being able to solve any problem that's out there. As a matter of fact, our mission is we solve the unsolvable. So these things are really, really important to us. We view cybersecurity not just as an enterprise risk, but also as a key business enabler. Because if our technology is not safe, we know we'll go out of business. All right, so moving on to the next slide. I'm going to cover a few topics today with you, and these may be things that you're already well aware of, but they are becoming increasingly important to oceaneering, and I wanted to talk about these things to you. We're going to talk about what is operational technology and how is it different from IT. What are the components of securing the operational technology? What are some of the frameworks that we're looking at and using? What's common among these frameworks? How this fits into our overall enterprise risk management framework, and then why it's difficult, some of the challenges that we're seeing, and the governance that we believe is important to apply to this type of technology. And at the very last slide, I'm going to tell you about where we are in our journey, and then we'll open it up for questions. First of all, defining what is operational technology. And I've got quite a few images here to show you, but if you look closely, you'll see that there's operational technology in every one of these examples. Because basically the way that operational technology is defined by Gartner is that it is the hardware and software that detects or causes change through direct monitoring or through control of industrial equipment, assets, processes, and events. So if that's operational technology, then you can see it plays a role. It's what controls each one of these things that I list here, from the entertainment business to, the technology that we use in our homes, to the technology that's used in refineries or other industrial scenarios. The primary goal of operational technology, of OT security, as we call it, is to ensure the reliability and the safety of industrial systems against various threats. So while in IT, we've always worried about protecting our data and our intellectual property, with OT, we're worried, the stakes are higher. We're worried about protecting people. It's the safety of people that's paramount as it relates to operational technology. So in contrasting IT and OT, I thought this was a good example. You see that, both live together now with the Internet of Things and the kind of the, what we call Industry 4.0. Everything's connected to everything. All these control systems that run at the refineries or in other industrial settings, they're all connected through technology now. They're all connected somehow to computers that are connected to the network. We're able to see and monitor these things, but with that has come additional risk. So IT security, as I mentioned before, it centers around protecting our data and the data integrity and confidentiality. With OT security, we're prioritizing safety and the operational reliability of physical systems. And so while IT breaches sometimes can cause a lot of damage to a company through data loss or, the reputational damage that may result, OT breaches have higher stakes, like I mentioned. They can disrupt critical infrastructure and endanger human lives. So understanding these distinctions is really important as we develop security strategies. So as a CIO, I can tell you, as I mentioned earlier, about 10 years ago, I was faced with having to accept the responsibility of IT security in my company and knowing that the buck stopped with me, not with my CISO, but ultimately with me. Now, in a company where there is so much operational technology being used, the OT security is also a huge part of my responsibility. So understanding the strategies and how we secure both things has become paramount to my job responsibility. So the components of OT security really are not that much different. This may look familiar to you if you're familiar with the NIST framework. But in OT security, we are worried about segmenting our network. We're worried about making sure we know what is our inventory of assets and how we control access to those assets. We're worried about endpoint security, similar to IT, and we're worried about detecting any threats and responding when we do see a threat that materializes. So similar, but a little bit different. These are some of the frameworks that we use for OT. I'm very sure you're familiar with the NIST framework. We've been using it for some time now, but with OT security, there's a standard, it's an international standard called IEC 62443. You may or may not be familiar with it, but it is one that really focuses on protecting the OT environments. It is industrial automation and control system, security life cycle, and it really focuses on segmenting the technology in an industrial setting, so you're protecting it at the various levels. And similar to IT, a lot of it has to do with policies and procedures and applying, segregation of duties and understanding what is required to do proper patch management and maintenance of any technology components that make up the industrial technology. So, both are designed to enhance the security posture of companies, right? But by cross-referencing them, we found that it helps us really take the strengths of each one of them, and at the same time being flexible, especially as how we implement them. And I'll get into that a little bit further in just a minute. You can see this is a really busy slide, but I put it here just to show you that as you compare the IEC framework to NIST 800 to NIST CFS, they do have a lot of similarities. The very far left column talks about the different domains that apply to the, to any IT or OT setting. And these are common across all of these frameworks, but they are all things that we have to do. And we have to apply them both in the IT setting as well as the OT setting. I won't stay here very much longer. So how does this fit into our enterprise risk framework? If you are familiar with this, this is a framework and a methodology that most companies, especially public-facing companies, they've adopted this because it's a holistic view of the enterprise risk, a risk that could affect the company in one way or another. And it isn't just cyber risk, it's any type of risk. It could be physical risk, it could be environmental risk, it could be many things, but it is the framework that companies use to kind of outline all the risks that could affect the company and then determine whether what the exposure is. Is it high, medium, or low? What controls do people put or do they need to put in place to mitigate the risks that are there? Mitigation isn't always the solution. Sometimes you transfer the risk by buying insurance, or you find other ways to deal with the risk. But the placement of OT in this framework is becoming ever more important, and the drivers behind it are because not just the need to reduce the risk, because we know it's there, but also in many situations it's because it's a compliance obligation that we have. Could be governmental or other things. An example in oceaneering and around regulatory compliance is that we do work for the US government, and as a subcontractor to the government, we have to meet the Department of Defense's CMMC requirements. And I'm happy to say that we were just audited against this requirement, and we passed the audit. So we are CMMC compliant as of today. In addition to that, there's another audit that they're doing called the DIPCAC audit, and it's also by the Department of Defense, and we passed that as well. Because we do a lot of work offshore, we own vessels, ships that take us out there to do the work, carry the ROVs or the umbilicals. And some of them we own, and some of them we operate, we charter. But in any case, because of that, we're subjected to the new Coast Guard's requirements for cybersecurity. So we're having to develop our plan to address all of the requirements that the Coast Guard has. So compliance, regulatory compliance is a really important thing to us, and it fits into the enterprise risk management. And then lastly, customer demands. More and more of our customers are demanding that we treat OT cybersecurity as an important risk, and that we attest to them before we do work for them, that we meet one of these frameworks like I mentioned earlier. So many drivers for applying OT security are there. Now, it's not easy. I can tell you, we've been on this journey for a little while now, and we're finding that the typical way that we've implemented IT security doesn't necessarily work in the OT environment. We've developed a lot of controls and technologies for dealing with IT security, and sometimes they have trouble translating into the OT world. And these are some of the reasons. In IT, we're used to saying, well, we're going to be down this weekend, we've got to put in an emergency patch, or we have a maintenance window that we follow every month, or we get to dictate when we're going to be down. In the OT environment, out in the industrial manufacturing facilities, we can't dictate. I mean, many of these facilities require zero downtime. So there's very little time for us to apply the patches or the controls that we need to apply. So it's a negotiation with the business as to when we can do these things. Also, some of these plants run very, very old equipment. In the IT world, we don't keep these things that long. Computers have a 3 to 5 year life cycle, and then they're out of there, whether it's servers or desktop computers or laptops. But in the industrial world, these things, they hang around for a very, very long time, 10, 20 or more years. Another challenge is that these control systems operate off of software that was written specifically to control that piece of equipment. And when we tell them, hey, we need to apply these security controls to your software, but your software is running in an old environment like Windows 7 or XP, when we tell them we need your latest software, the response is often, oh, well, that equipment that you have only runs with that software. So if you need the new software, you have to buy new equipment. Now all of a sudden it becomes a very costly expense to replace or to secure it, because now we're not just talking about replacing software, we're talking about replacing a lot of expensive hardware. Another challenge is that operational technology is pretty much decentralized still, even in our company. So each business segment manufactures different things or provides different services in the OT world, and they're treated as almost as independent businesses. IT is a shared service. As a CIO, I support IT across all of the segments, but for the OT security, I have to deal with each one of the businesses individually and develop plans for securing their OT that may differ from one facility to another. And the final thing that makes it challenging is just the lack of visibility. So because they haven't been included in the enterprise risk framework in the past, the business kind of views it as, well, I know that you want to do this, but I can't stop my business because I've got to keep generating revenue. So, we're going to have to negotiate this out, because I know you're asking me to spend all this money on securing my stuff, but, it hasn't been planned and it's going to affect my P&L, et cetera. So they will sometimes tell us that, they'll get to it, but we have to keep stressing to them about how important it is. So all of these make it really challenging for us. So where do we start? Oversight and governance starts with really doing a good job or an effective job of explaining to those business leaders why it's so important and why the risk is real and what could happen if we don't secure their operational technology. And as they hear and read about things like, for example, Colonial Pipeline and the impact that it had, then stuff like this becomes a lot more real to them. And we have to be also very flexible with them, because we have to understand ourselves that while there are similarities between IT and OT, we do have to respect the differences. So I find that the best approach for approaching OT technology, OT security, is to create a steering board where representatives from IT security and the business and engineering are together agreeing on a path forward and laying out a roadmap of, what can be done in what time frame, and, applying or making commitments that are reasonable and practical to the business, because it can't all be done at once. So in doing so, what I have found to be successful, and what we found at Oceaneering, is that by co-developing a RACI matrix in which we lay out what responsibilities belong to IT and what responsibilities they own as it relates to operational security, then that seems to work better because they feel like they've got ownership and we're really creating this partnership with them. So this last slide is really to talk to you about, I've been talking a little bit about what we've been doing at Oceaneering, but I want to maybe just kind of tell you where we started, because like I said, I started 3 years ago at Oceaneering, and one of the very first things that I heard from people was, hey, you guys did a gap assessment of our ROV business, and they came up with this huge budget that was going to be needed to secure everything, and it's just not practical. We need you to develop something for us that's a lot more reasonable and pragmatic, and something that's not going to kill the business. So my response was, well, we're going to eat this elephant one bite at a time. Let's figure out where the problems are and just create a roadmap to address them. It'll be a long-term plan, and it'll show progress along the way. So we engaged a consulting firm. You may have heard of them. They're Booz Allen Hamilton. They're considered to be very, very good at this. We had them come in and help us develop a 3-year cybersecurity roadmap that included IT and OT. And the roadmap, we presented it to our board of directors last year. They were very pleased and happy to see it, because it's something that they can measure progress periodically. But the 3 themes of our roadmap are, first, we have to close any critical gaps that we see, both in IT and OT, because we have to ensure that we are protecting ourselves from those most serious threats that are out there. So closing those critical gaps is a priority. After that, increasing our line of sight, meaning that we've got to have visibility at the right level, not just in IT, but in OT, so that we can ensure that we are securing all the right layers. And that includes network segmentation, because in the past, we prided ourselves in having a flat network, and that doesn't work anymore. So by being able to say that we've got our network properly segmented and that we can see, we have visibility, that also gives us kind of assurance that we're doing the right things and we're securing the right things. And the third item of our roadmap is creating an enduring culture of cybersecurity in Oceaneering. That's really important. Safety became a critical thing to Oceaneering many years ago. And today, if you talk to anyone in the company, they can tell you that safety is a #1 priority. We work in very harsh environments, but safety is paramount. Well, our objective is to make cybersecurity as important as safety, as that OT security be viewed just as important as physical and safety is. And I think the message is starting to resonate with people, but I think we're going to have to do a lot more training, a lot more communication to create this enduring culture. We have formed a steering committee of IT leadership as well as business leadership from all the business segments. They're overseeing the work that we're doing on this roadmap. And as it relates to OT security, we have taken an approach that we're going business segment to business segment, facility by facility, and conducting risk assessments of that business and then of the facilities, and developing plans to address any gaps that we find, and then also the adoption of those businesses and those facilities to our zero trust network infrastructure or architecture that we've developed. So all I can tell you is that it's early days for us. We've made some progress, but we still have a lot to go. Got a lot of work ahead of us still. But we understand the importance of it, and we know that OT security is as important as IT security. So, Steve, those are my slides, and I can stop sharing and open it up to any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see, we have something in the chat.
Let's see if I can figure out how to stop it first.
Okay.
Because I can, Mike, you might need to tell me again in the show, maybe.
I think if you just go up to the right-hand corner and hit the X, it might just shut it down.
Okay, now I see the stop share. Okay.
There we go. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I want to point out, I think I told Maria this, but I think you're the first industry speaker that we've actually had in our NCyTE member meeting. I may be wrong, but I think that's the case. So we're really, I think this is a good perspective that sometimes out of academia, we don't always get all the insight and perspective of industry other than our industry partners that we work with, but it's really good that, and especially with IT and OT. So one of the questions in here, can you talk about red teaming, OT, and where you are in zero trust maturity?
Yes. We have not done a red team of OT yet. That we do red teaming in the IT space quite a bit. But in the OT space, we've not done it yet, but we know that it is something that we need to do. Like I mentioned earlier, we're just now going through and we've done some of the risk assessments and we're addressing the gaps that we found, but we still have a number of risk assessments to do. So I don't think that we're ready yet to red team, but we know that it's a really important aspect of our security framework, so it's coming.
I can make a comment too. I don't know if you know this, but Idaho Labs provides free to industry red teaming and that training. So if you need some of that, reach out to us. We'll help you
Absolutely.
get connected.
That sounds great.
Let's see. Costas had a question. Can you talk about the data interface between OT and IT and cybersecurity issues there?
Yeah, there are a lot of examples where there is data that's being uploaded onto the network. So I'll just give you maybe just one example. Mentioned earlier when I was telling you what we do, one of the things that we do is we survey the floor, the ocean floor, for the oil companies so they can do their seismic studies. And so we have these ROVs that are going back and forth, and just collecting tons of data. That data now is stored on an edge computer on the vessel, and then it's uploaded to the cloud. So now you've just gone very quickly from OT to IT. So it's really important that we have the right level of access controls on that data, that we've got, proper authentication of the people using those systems, and that we've got visibility as to, what the assets are so that we're monitoring them closely. So yeah, there is a lot of data being transferred back and forth between the two. And as soon as it kind of hits the wire, hits our network, it's all the IT frameworks apply.
Great. Any other questions? You can put them in the chat or just unmute yourself. I have one question is, and you talk about the risk assessments and all that, and of course, coming from Exxon, we know how rigid we were with risk assessments. But one of the things, and speaking about Explorer pipeline, business continuity, disaster recovery, how is that integrated into your IT/OT governance and processes?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Business continuity and disaster recovery.
Yeah.
How do you integrate that into your, based off your risk assessments? How do you integrate that into the governance and also into your operations?
Yeah. We do have a very, I think, a well-documented incident response plan that we follow, and it has been tested. That's all I can tell you there. And that, we learn from it every time. So it is an important part of our strategy to have a good incident response plan. So what was the specific question, though? I didn't quite understand.
Well, how do you use, so you're doing business continuity and disaster recovery, I would assume. How like SunGuard, I know you worked for SunGuard at one time, and when we were with Exxon, we did tests twice a year. Everything was under, and that was the key to keep the business running. And I think that's probably an area where a lot of times we forget about those things, or we don't put enough emphasis on those. And so a good example is even in the CAE community, we have these knowledge units. They didn't have any knowledge unit around business continuity, disaster recovery.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question at first. So yes, we do have a business continuity plan. We actually call it an incident response plan. So we do have that the business owns, as well as a disaster recovery plan that we test. And we actually have our traditional disaster recovery plan for our data center, but now we have also a disaster recovery plan for our cloud. So that's, and it's slightly different. So we are planning to practice the cloud incident response plan later this year for the first time. So, but yeah, it's an annual exercise that we do. Yeah, I think it's a really important part of your risk mitigation strategy.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to see how you were doing that. And so there's another question in the chat. Can you talk about AI use in cybersecurity?
Yeah, I don't think we're doing anything with AI yet in cybersecurity. I could talk for another half an hour about other things we're doing with AI, but it hasn't been applied yet to cybersecurity. Somebody asked me the other day, what are you doing with agentic AI? And I said, well, one of the things is, it's interesting because I'm asking the software vendors the same question. It's like, how are you applying agentic AI to your new kind of next generation software? The tools that we're applying, we use some of the more common ones like Zscaler, for example, things like that. I'm sure they're looking into applying AI to those technologies, but I haven't seen them materialize yet.
So is that a big concern as far as you talk about AI and like your robotics, and maybe, I don't know if you have it in robotics, but probably do, but so that does create some additional security probably issues that maybe through your risk assessments you've identified.
Yeah, so we group AI as in two things. There are AI use cases that the engineers are testing with the robotics technology. So they are, and I don't think that they've taken anything into production yet. They've got several use cases they're working with AI in the industrial setting. At the same time, we've got a whole initiative around Gen AI, and that's more of an IT initiative. And even with Gen AI, we took a stance that we were going to adopt Copilot as our Gen AI tool. So we block other things at the firewall. And then prior to even rolling out a pilot for it, we went through a thorough review of where we would be pointing Gen AI or Copilot, our OneDrive, our SharePoint environment, our email, to ensure that we weren't oversharing. We called it kind of paving the path or clearing the path for AI, because that's one of the things that we were concerned about. And the first pilot was only HR and legal, because we figured if they saw things they weren't supposed to see, they're probably the two groups that it would probably be okay if they were, but they did. They found some PII data that was something like that was out there that shouldn't have been visible to everybody. So now we're in the process of developing, a lot of agents. We've got several use cases lined up, but we have, again, we're very governance structured. So we have a steering committee just for that. So all of the ideas that are coming through are being vetted, and we're not just kind of allowing it to go run wild.
Yeah, that's real world.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Yeah. I don't see any other questions, but so NCyTE really is focused with the community colleges and students. And one of our big questions that come up a lot of times, especially in our all of our universities and colleges, our students say, I can't get a job, an entry-level job because of what do I need to do that? What do you look for an entry-level job in IT or cybersecurity? Because really, I think we've sometimes narrow our opportunities by saying cybersecurity. It's really get your foot in the door. How do you do that?
Yeah. We hire a lot of interns. Matter of fact, we had 10 interns this summer just in IT, in the IT department. And we find that the internships are a really good way for them to kind of get exposed to something in our company, in the IT department. And at the end of it, we determine if they're somebody that we think that would make a good candidate for hiring after they go back and when they graduate. So typically that's how we get like the people out of college, is through the internships. But yeah, I would encourage people to do as many internships as they can, because that's a good way to get into the companies.
Great, yeah. Let's see, that generated a bunch of comments. Let's see. They like the comparison on on-site safety and operations and IT safety with cybersecurity. What approaches had you done to foster a strong safety culture in OT environments?
Well, that already was there before I joined. It's not really the IT person or the CIO's responsibilities. Physical safety, we have a department that just focuses on safety, and they do safety training, safety audits. I mean, they're mobile. They visit all of the segments. They do safety reviews, and so that's already there. That's part of it. But I view the OT security as being, a close element of it, because if somebody takes over the controls of those systems, they could injure a person. So in that respect, we have that in common, is that the end state is the same. We're both worried about the same thing, and that is physical harm.
Yeah, I know that ExxonMobil adopted that. They tied their cybersecurity awareness into their safety awareness program.
It did. Okay.
Yeah, they've done the same thing. So I think that's a good direction to go, and especially when you're talking about OT, it's a life-threatening.
Yeah.
So there's another question. Do you have a walled environment for the Copilot environment with your own language models, or do you use public LLMs?
We use the Microsoft environment. So it's in our tenant, but the language models that they use are, as a matter of fact, they're using the GPT-5 is the newest one. Yeah. So, and that's available to us now. So we have not everybody in the company has a license to use Copilot. We have maybe about 300 people in the company with Copilot licenses, but then there's Copilot for all. That's the one that you see when you go to the browser. So anyway, I think Microsoft's going to have to figure out how to make it more affordable, because it is quite pricey, the Copilot license on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also in the same context, what about AI in data and analytics and community college grads? Oh, yeah. Are you hiring any? I guess maybe you can come off mute and ask that question. I'm not doing a good job on.
Yes, this is. Thank you for that. I was just wondering, in the context of cybersecurity, with all the advancement in AI integrated in cybersecurity at the community colleges, now we are also incorporating that AI technology and data analytics for intrusion detection, for instance, in our curriculum. Within that context of hiring grads, what are you specifically looking for? If someone comes in with a strong AI credential, whether associate or bachelor, are there anything you can talk about address that would help us to better target those
Yeah.
skill sets?
I think there will be, yeah, thank you for the question. I think there's going to be more and more opportunity for that. It's early days for us, but as I mentioned earlier, we have a roadmap that we're following for the cybersecurity piece of it. And one of the areas that we're looking at is around doing more advanced correlation of the things that we see coming through with the logs from the tools that we've deployed. And that advanced correlation, we don't believe we have the skill sets for it. So the dialogue we're having is this something that we should pay a third party to do for us? Or, is this something that we want to develop in-house? I'm open to suggestions for that, but that's something that we're not really very good at yet. But I'm curious to see where that's going to take you in terms of that, what you're teaching your students on the data analytics and AI for cybersecurity.
Yeah, there's a lot more emphasis in data analytics, I think, and even in research in community colleges than in the past. And in fact, they're here in Houston and Texas, they have the BRICS Texas bringing the cybersecurity, bringing research to cybersecurity in community college. And it's not just cyber, but it's for all research. And so I think in fact, I think Sally Kay's on here from the BRICS Texas. She's over that grant. And, so
right now, all the log data from the tools is being dumped into something we call Splunk. You guys have heard of
Splunk? Oh yeah, we know Splunk.
Yeah, and so that, we always look for people that have those skill sets as well.
That's good. Mike put in there that don't forget that for you all to click on the survey. I'll show that in a minute, but we got about 5 minutes left. One other question that's kind of tied, you mentioned the internships and whatnots, and you get those from colleges. So do you have a set of institutions that you really focus on, or how does that, what's the opportunity for going not just in your company, but in the energy sector as well? What's the best way for colleges and universities to kind of get their students involved in internships there?
Yeah. Well, I can get more information for you on that if anybody is interested. They tend to come, and I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a hard, fast rule. They come from the HR department is responsible for going to the universities to hire the interns. They just kind of tell us how many do you need and what do you think you're going to need them for, and then they find them for them. But I find that a lot of them are either from around here. They're the U of H or A&M, UT. Those are kind of general. And I don't know if it's because for interns, if people that don't want, maybe they think people don't want to come from that far, to Houston for an internship, or if it's a hard, fast rule. But I mean, I can definitely find out for you, Steve.
Sure. And then I guess since we're really, ATE is really looking at advanced technical education, and we're community colleges, what are the opportunities for community college graduates? And, that would be.
And I would think that in the cybersecurity space, a degree isn't even required. It's really the skill sets that you have. And, we've got a lot of needs for people with secure software development lifecycle expertise. Anybody that knows how to secure software or, look for vulnerabilities in software, that's a real important need. And those people are hard to find. And then obviously, that kind of more the area around somebody who's good at writing policies and, documents, governance documents, things like that. There's a whole group that we have that does that. Then we've got the group that's, with identity and access management that does the patch management, does the secure architecture. So we've got various towers within cybersecurity, towers of skill sets, I guess I should say. So it runs the gamut. But yeah, specifically software right now, secure software is a big deal to us.
Great. Well, thanks, Maria. We just about out of time. We got about 3 minutes left. And let me share that one. Let's see if I can find. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong thing. That's my boat. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
I don't have it anymore.
Aw.
There we go. Can you see the?
Yes. We can see.
Okay. So you all can click on that survey and please respond. That helps us give us guidance on where we're going to go next year on our different keynote speakers. And really, we appreciate you, Maria. This really has been, I think, really interesting. We don't always get that kind of knowledge, especially I think the stuff about the internships and then not having to have a degree to get into cyber. That may be something that a lot of people don't really realize.
They may not realize that. Yeah.
So
No,
this is
it's a high
fantastic.
demand field, so I would encourage people to, even if you take courses, get some online certifications, those are a good start. So
Great.
all right. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.